He came home to blood on the marble and his 6-year-old daughter lying blue-lipped on the stairs, and the housekeeper's next 7 words dropped him to his knees. It all began 4 days earlier when dawn bled a pale fog over Lake Clarion, wrapping the Voss estate in a silence too heavy for a house once filled with music. Lucian Voss, Grammy-winning composer, genius behind platinum records, sat before his Steinway Grand, playing broken chords like he was punishing the keys for what life had done to him. The same hands that wrote symphonies now trembled over memories of his late wife Isabel, a Juilliard prodigy taken too young by leukemia. In the corner window sat Elira, their 6-year-old daughter, a crayon clutched in her tiny fist as she drew her family, Daddy, Mommy, me. Her father was there in the music, her mother in the colors, but what she really wanted was the sparkle that used to live in his eyes. Then the front door hissed open, and in came Marceline Duval, Lucian's ex-manager and new wife. All sleek black silk and diamond cold, Marceline had once managed his world tours. Now she managed his life. "That new piece is divine," she purred, straightening his collar like a conductor adjusting a score. Elira felt the room chill 5 degrees. Breakfast was crystal in silence, the sound of Lucian's phone buzzing with messages from Vienna. "Go," Marceline smiled. "They need their genius." Elira's spoon clattered. "You're leaving again, Daddy?" He kissed her curls. 3 days, Peanut, promise." Marceline's eyes flicked to the staircase like she was counting beats before the next movement. By the time his taillights vanished behind the pines, her smile turned into something darker. "My turn," she whispered. The house became a stage for cruelty. Curtains yanked open, furniture rearranged. "Sit straight." No humming, no running. Those were the new rules, spoken in B-flat minor. Evelyn, the old housekeeper, dared to protest. "She's 6, ma'am." Marceline didn't blink. "Exactly. Clay before it hardens." When Elira slipped out to the lake, sending a maple leaf across the water, the same wish game her mother had taught her, Marceline appeared, heels stabbing the dock. "No one needs a dreamer dragging my brand through mud," she hissed, jerking the girl's arm until the leaf sank. That night, Lucian called from Vienna, face pixelated on the screen. "How's my girl?" Elira tried to smile. Marceline hovered behind her, voice syrup-sweet, studying hard. The call ended. The bolt slid on Elira's door. Darkness swallowed her. She hid her torn drawing, half daddy, half ghost mommy, beneath her pillow. Day 2, Evelyn found the gate open and muddy prints leading to the lakeside cemetery. Elira knelt by Isabel's stone, whispering to her mother through tears. Then Marceline's scream cut the fog in half. "Family image, you little—" The rest was hands, dragging, gravel, and the sound of a child begging to breathe. 3 days. No food, no yard. Learn or starve. Evelyn intervened and got fired. The gate slammed shut like a verdict. Night fell heavy. Upstairs, Elira scratched the wall with a fingernail. "I'm still here." Downstairs, Marceline sipped Cabernet, scrolling through Lucian's messages. He'd be home in the morning. She smiled into her glass. "If you return, everything burns." Rain came before dawn. On the 3rd night, thunder rolled as Elira fainted, lips cracked, clutching a photo of her mother. Marceline checked her pulse, barely there, then locked the door again. By morning, the house smelled like cold iron and something unspoken. Lucian's jet touched down, and he came bearing a porcelain doll for his daughter. But when he stepped into the foyer, he froze. A rust-colored smear trailed across the marble. Upstairs, faint footsteps. Then he saw her, Elira, fragile as a wisp, blood dried on her knee, whispering, "Daddy," before collapsing into his arms. Behind him, Marceline appeared, silk dress immaculate, eyes sharp as razors. "Teaching fear," she said. "Spoiled brats don't survive fame." Lucian's voice broke into a roar that rattled the crystal chandelier. "You starved my child?" Marceline's smile didn't move. "Nothing a little resilience won't fix." He lifted Elira, lighter than a sheet of music, and walked out. Marceline hurled her wineglass. Merlot spidered across the floor like veins of spilled blood. At the clinic, Dr. Henry Alcott, Lucian's old conservatory friend, listed the damage: dehydration, malnutrition, trauma. Evelyn burst in, soaked from rain, clutching a recorder. She hit play. Marceline's voice hissed through static. "Call her mother's name again. I'll show you fear." Followed by glass shattering and Elira's cry. Lucian signed the police report with shaking hands. No headlines, he said. Protect her. They retreated to his old composing cottage by the lake, the same place he'd written his first Grammy-winning piece for Isabel. There, he burned every unfinished score except one, Isabel's Symphony. Days later, a letter arrived on Marceline's old stationery. You'll both pay. Child Services investigator Celia Morrow took the case. Sharp mind, sharper instinct. She noticed something odd. The font flaw on the threat letter matched a vintage typewriter Marceline owned. The trail led to Paris. Marceline, now a fugitive, was holed up in a dim Belleville apartment, swirling red wine as she plotted with two of Lucian's old enemies, Adrian Scovich, a disgraced producer he'd fired, and Verena Clay, a debt-buried accountant. Their plan was simple and savage. Fake a kidnapping, break Lucian's mind, and drain his fortune. Fear is real only when loss is tangible, Adrian sneered. Marceline's smile could cut glass. Then let's make him feel it. But Celia was already 3 moves ahead. She leaked a rumor. Lucian would be waiting alone at the lake with a ransom drop at midnight. Adrian showed up first, waving a phone showing a doctored photo of a sleeping Elira. Lucian stared him down. I'm all out of fear. The woods erupted with sirens as officers closed in. Meanwhile, back at the cottage, a masked figure smashed the window. Elira screamed. Lucian sprinted through mud and lightning, lungs burning. The chase ended in a crash, metal, blood, and rain. Adrian went down hard under Lucian's fists. Elira was safe, shaking in her father's arms. I heard music, she whispered. Like Mommy was there. Across the lake, Marceline watched through binoculars, smiling in the downpour. Not the final movement, she whispered, and vanished into the storm. 3 weeks later, in a London warehouse, she surrendered herself. Lipstick smeared across a wall spelled her final performance note. Lights out. The court gave her 20 years without parole. Lucian sat through the hearing, face stone, heart somewhere between grief and survival. When the judge asked if he had a statement, he said only, loss isn't over. But I've learned to hold the light. 3 years passed. The Clarion Light Music Center opened its doors, a place where children learned to turn pain into harmony. Elira, now 9, stood at the podium, conducting a small orchestra playing Symphony of Light, her father's final rewrite of Isabel's unfinished piece. The melody swelled through the halls like forgiveness taking form. When the parole board asked Lucian if he opposed Marceline's early release, he simply said, I hold no hate, just truth. That night, moonlight rippled across Lake Clarion. Elira fell asleep with her violin beside her, dreams unbroken. Lucian sat at the piano, touched the keys, and for the first time in years, no ghosts answered. Only music, pure and alive, breathing again. And maybe that's the lesson. Monsters can shatter lives, but they can't silence love. Because even in the darkest house, light waits for someone brave enough to play the next note. If this story shook you, don't scroll away. Follow for more real stories that remind us how darkness breaks and light always finds its way back.